Oh, wait. It's quite interesting how every time I come on this thing. Oh, wait, what is this? Oh. Hmm. Slow connection. I wonder why internet chooses to play at the wrong time. Stars, requests. One more night. Give me just one more night. Hi, Gloria, Quagga. Good evening. Trying to look for Zoe. I find it interesting. Every time I come live, it's like I'm doing this for the first time. I always forget these things. This is comments. I don't see the option of inviting the person to join. Slow connection. Mami Lumalo Sibiotya Alhaj Lumala. Zoe. Where could she be? Let me try to call her. Trying to say where it's driving. The dogs don't bring age. Remember just a new bite. Let's see. The best in you. Nsanyusa okulaba nange nsanyusa okuba naawe wano Alhaj. Abatamanyi no Zoe and Nemio. Oh, I'm seeing her here in the corner. Add. Zoe, it shows that you've declined. Trying to find you now. Oh, there you are.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not seeing your picture. I don't know why. Can
You
someone
don't see my
confirm? Because
picture?
what's that?
Can you see me?
I can't see you, but there are chances that it's just my Facebook that's having issues.
Okay, because
Yeah.
and I don't see you.
You don't see me either, but you see yourself.
Yes.
There are chances that it's an issue with the Facebook.
Mm.
Alhaj, osobola okutukonfirm yongira oba ffe by'otulaba. He's on live. I'm trying to see who is Jaja Shege. So to confirm if you're seeing us. Your voice is low though.
Who, mine?
Yeah, I seem to be struggling to hear you.
Mm.
You seem a little bit distant.
How is that?
You're still far.
I'm still far. That is
Yeah.
strange.
Are you using headsets?
No, the headsets I was supposed to use have a problem, so I'm using earphones. So I don't know.
I can see half of Nabuzi and a clear shot. My goodness. Facebook always does these things. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Always? I don't know. I've not really been using like.
It usually plays me. Because
Mm.
now
Okay.
Mukasa is saying he can only see half of me and a clear shot of you. And yet I'm not seeing you on my end. I don't know what it is about my Facebook, but it keeps playing me all the time.
And I don't see you either.
and I can't see you at all. But if the viewers can see us, we can just continue with the conversation. But at least the live recording will have the conversation. The only issue is that I don't know if I'll be fully visible enough. Because if Mukasa is saying that you can only see half of me, I don't know how to do this whole thing. I don't know why it keeps doing that all the time. If I extend backwards, am I better seen? Mukasa, can you help us? You're the technician. You are a technician right now. Because he confirms that he can see you. The only challenge here. Let's see what he says. And then Pepe Atuhire. Can you help us confirm if you can see both of us well? Confirmed. Oh, interesting. Thank you so much, Sebo. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Zoe.
Good evening, Anna. Oh,
can you use I don't know if you can use the phone without the headsets.
Okay, let me try that.
Yeah.
Can see.
You seem quite distant.
Okay, just a minute. Okay. So how is that?
I'm trying. I'm really trying.
How
but can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear. I don't know about if you can hear me loud and clear.
I can hear you, but you just sound a bit distant from the phone.
And I'm not distant. I'm actually quite.
If the viewers aren't saying anything, maybe we're good to go.
Okay.
So this evening we're going to have an introductory conversation about one of the Thrive's products. For those that have been with us for the last 2 years, I'm sure you have seen a couple of these products. You have seen, let me see, this is the oldest, the anti-stress coloring book, and then these came in, these for the 5 and above. then the toddlers coloring book. And then this year we had two products coming out. This is the African Woman edition. And then this right here. This is the very first that isn't a coloring book. Someone asked there's a live conversation I had some months ago, and someone asked why not another coloring book. And I had to confirm that Thriveys is not just about coloring books, but we are curating products that are meant to support our mental well-being, mental and emotional well-being. So this is our very first journal, and I think it even makes more sense that we are starting the conversation from the ground up. So the purpose of this, Nabuguzi, check your sound, please. I'm not audible. Oh my God.
I can hear you from my side. I don't know if the audience can hear you well, but I can hear you. I just don't see you, but I can hear you.
Right. Because he's telling me to check my sound.
Okay.
If you is telling me to check my sound, and I don't know what else I have to do. I don't know what else I have to do. I don't know what it is that is happening.
Can they hear my side?
What's that?
So, can I be? Are they hearing my voice, like my sound?
Because can you confirm? When you say I check my sound, I get a little bit confused about what to do because there is nothing more that I can do. Because it's not muted. Mukasa, can you hear Zoe clearly? But I think he can. I'm the problem here.
Okay, if they can hear me well, maybe the transmission issues on your side. I don't know. Can you see me though? Because I don't see you.
I can't. But the recording will have both of us in it. The only issue is I don't know how close I'm going to be on the camera because they had already confirmed that we're in a clear shot. Although he had also, Mukasa had helped us confirm that we were both in clear shot. Oh no, he's saying I'm now clear. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what it is that's going on. But yeah, the purpose of this live conversation is an introductory mini tour of this journal. Some people, when you show them the journal, the comments that come in also show that I think we have not done enough marketing or teaching about the journal, because some think it's just reading material, and yet it's a toolkit to support teenagers in self-assessment, self-awareness, self-esteem, and also building confidence. So it's not just reading material. There are hundreds of prompts here and conversation guides. So Zoe and I are going to have brief conversations. It's going to be a freestyle conversation. She will prompt me somewhere, I will prompt her, and then we see how these conversations have affected us in our teenage and also our adulthood, because most of the challenges that we see among us adults stem from our childhood and teenage experiences. So Zoe, you're welcome.
Thank you, Nabuguzi. Thanks for organizing this conversation. And yeah, I'm here. Let's see what we can go through. And yeah, like you said, freestyle. Really just navigating this journal. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm going to try doing? I'm going to try to go and pick my headset so that I can hear you clearly without me having to lean forward. Just a minute.
Okay. All right.
Thank
sure.
you.
No problem.
She went off. Zoe, you disappeared. Bring them on camera. This person wasn't able to join because of technical issues. What has happened? Why does Facebook play these games? Okay. Zoe, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, this thing is actually non-connected. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, now you're louder, and I'm not hearing you from the headset. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, let's have this conversation. I don't know.
It may
Let us
not be
just have.
perfect.
Yeah.
Technology has its issues sometimes. Yeah. Mm.
Let us have this conversation. How,
Okay.
as someone that has had the privilege of perusing the journal firsthand, what are your experiences? What's your experience like?
My experience.
Mm-hmm.
First, like I've said before, the first time when I saw it and flipped through it and saw like the different questions, just flipping through, I was like, these are actually important questions. Like these are conversations or things that we need to be reflecting about, even as adults, because some of the questions I saw there are things that I have reflected upon I myself as an adult, as I've done my own self reviews, life reviews, as I dig deep and see what is the issue here, what's the problem here, or what is going right here. And then I was like, we never had these conversations when we were young, when we were growing up. And then it also kind of revealed to me some of the indirect ways that I have been dealing with my own children. And the questions might not have been like specifically those ones, but I realized that we have been probably approaching some of these things in our own, indirect ways, having some sort of conversations or allowing them space to be able to come and ask me some things. Or, when you've been observing a child and then sometimes you say, the weather has changed. And then I'm like, what's going on, And sometimes they might say, I'm okay, mommy. And I'm like, no, I've noticed something. And I pull them into a private space, maybe like my bedroom. I'm like, what's going on? And I dig. And then it's like, okay, mommy, this is the issue, like that. So my first impression when I looked at it and then when I started, going through again, was like, I think these are things that, these are questions that need to be asked. These are areas that people at different stages, age appropriately, need to be asking themselves, because what happens now affects what happens tomorrow. And I could clearly see that there are certain ways, even I myself, certain ways in which my past and how I grew up, or the opportunities that I had to speak or no, or not to speak, how they impacted me along the way, and how along the journey I have been navigating some of those issues and trying to, to kind of course correct in some areas. So I think these are important conversations. Yeah.
Right. I like the way how you tapped on the fact that what happens today can affect tomorrow. And I think it goes
very well with the idea that I have that we are a manifestation of our childhood. Sometimes it is we're either excelling because of the people that say that we won't excel, or we are not excelling because of the people that say that we shall not excel. So some of the things that come along with the self-concept and all those things have their roots in our childhood experiences. So yeah,
Yes,
and
they
even
do.
when I think at some point when I was doing the final edits, this
Mm,
went away from just looking at the outside world. I realized it was more like a letter to my teenage self because
yes.
if you're looking at the very first, if you're looking at the very first chapter of the journal where we're talking about
Mm,
discovering and setting boundaries as a teenager, I had nothing of
mm,
that kind. I didn't even understand it.
mm,
Even into my young adult stage, this is
mm,
my years at first years at the university,
mm.
entering these adult relationships. Nothing.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about boundaries. I didn't know there was such thing as boundaries being crossed. Of course, I think when you're with your parents as an adult and child, you know not to cross some
Mm,
boundaries. But when it comes
yeah.
to these normal relations like friendships or maybe romantic relationships, I think for some people that have not had an experience of seeing firsthand
Yes.
how these things are
Mm,
done, it's very easy for you
mm,
to just exist in this world.
yes.
And then later on cry for that, oh, that person was terrible. But when you go deeper into self assessment, you realize you are equally terrible to yourself. So, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And yeah, speaking of boundaries, like you said, when I was looking at that, and of course now I have boundaries, I
Mhm.
have, solidified healthy boundaries. But I was looking back and, my childhood growing up, teenagers, and sometimes also the environment we grow up in matters. Like, say you're many kids in the house, yeah, you're
Mhm.
sharing all this space, and sometimes there isn't anything like. Uh, Basically you're encouraged to just share the space and all that, and there's a lot of things that you share, so sometimes it's kind of like you don't even have physical boundaries, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
then when you go like emotionally, uh boundaries, like it's it's very rare where you'll be like, no, this is mine, or you're saying no, or like we didn't even have that teaching of thinking about that. Like the way it was is like you grow up by, you follow instructions, do this, and you do that, you don't question that,
Right.
and it kind of filters into a lot of your life. I think even with your friends, like you just do what you
Mhm.
need to do. There was
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
boundaries. And but when you get into school, of course, now you start developing some of those, because yeah, this is my space. This is where my space at the desk or in the
Yeah.
dormitory. So you know where not to cross, and where to cross, because sometimes if you cross, like you will step on live wires, and then now you also start knowing that, oh, I think this person maybe but this is where they need to stop, and that sort of thing. So it was kind of like a little there, but not really that well defined.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it like when we say what happens to us yesterday affects today, or what happens today affects tomorrow. I've
Yeah.
seen it a lot in when you grow up and you have all these different relationships, not just romantic relationships, but even the relationships we have with with our siblings or with friends. And like sometimes you end up overstepping your own boundaries, maybe overgiving of time, of resources, of just your energy, even where it's not absolutely necessary, or the other person doing the same. And like, especially siblings, for like us not having boundaries to say, like, you know what, this is where my sibling stops, or they might request you do this or that. Like, it takes time to develop that sort of, like, this is where my fence is. This I'll do, this I won't be able to, this I'll be able to attend, this I'll not be able to attend. And to be able to accept that, okay, it might not please some people, but that's also okay. So boundaries are so critical. And in terms of romantic relationships, I think we get so burnt. We get our fingers really burnt. And like you said, we blame people. We do all sorts of what we fall down and kick and whatnot, and you can blame forever. But then when you start going deep and you're like, but hold on a minute, where was my role in all this?
Yeah. You
start digging deep and you're like, hold on, I let this happen. I let this happen.
Yeah.
I should have put a fence here and then been ready to see what the other person would do, and then I would choose how to respond.
Right.
Yeah. So then you start realizing, here it's me who opened the door. I've usually told my kids, like, when we are still talking about, we've not called them boundaries, but for them knowing how to protect their space and energy and all that. I'm like, sometimes you won't be able to change the other person and what they want or what they want to do, any of that. But if that other person, let's say you have a neighbor, and this neighbor has a habit of being careless with their trash and they throw it anywhere like that. So you're not going to change them. But are you going to open your gate and allow them to come and throw their trash inside your compound or put it at your doorstep? And they're like, no. So I'm like, then you will not change who they are, but then you have to step up and tell them, hey, I will not have your trash at my door. You can have your trash, but not at my door. Like that.
Right.
So, like that. So, yeah, boundaries, very critical. Yeah.
That's what you say. And I feel like I've had to, because when you talked about that bit of where you also feel like, no, I don't want to go to this place. And I think I've seen, I don't know if it's specifically amongst us, the Ganda, where I think there is a community kind of aspect that we see, the way how we interact with society, but there is people-pleasing aspect that goes over and beyond. That even when someone feels like they're not comfortable doing something, they feel like there is this, they just have to show up. And so I think for some people, we get to see our parents do some things, even when they don't want to do them. And therefore, we take up that people-pleasing culture that does not have limits in as far as how we relate with people. And so even when you find yourself, let me say, in a romantic relationship, when you're an adult, you do not even know how to have these boundaries. I mean, we were having this conversation some few months ago about boundaries, and then tapped into relationships. And you'll see that people ask questions like, if you set boundaries in a relationship, wouldn't that mean that that relationship is dead, And that only shows how we are tiptoeing about the way how we relate in as far as society is concerned. I think we have this wrong mindset that to build boundaries is to make enemies, and yet it is a form of self-preservation. Because when I was following the Diddy case somewhere in May, and I was listening to some of the witness statements, especially Cassie's, where she said, because you see the very first prompt when you see on your end, where it asks, have I ever felt uncomfortable doing something? What do I feel comfortable doing? There is somewhere where Cassie, in her witness statement, said that she engaged in these freak-offs or freaky parties, because she felt she didn't want to take part in them, but felt like if she didn't take part in them, her lover would feel like she is judging him, he would feel bad about himself. But then the question is, where are you in the conversation? Why are you just thinking
Yes.
about what the other person is going to feel, and you're not trying to air out how uncomfortable this is? And
Yes.
for the kids, when you go down to the kids, the kinds of friendships that they make, we were having a live conversation that was, I think, moderated by Monitor, Daily Monitor. And somebody talked about how children struggle with the relationships they build in school, relationships in as
Yes.
far as friendships are concerned, that
Yes.
where a child finds themselves performing well in school and suddenly performing poor, you need to have a bigger conversation beyond just blaming them for
Yes. Yes.
playing with your money or wasting time in school. Because there are incidences that there's an example they gave that there was a child who was quite a high performer, but suddenly her grades went down. But when they kept
Yeah.
probing, and probing, they later on
Yeah.
found out that one of her friends expressed, the friend was making those snide remarks that made her comfortable about being a great performer. You know, those kind of things like, Emma,
Yes.
matemo abatezi.
Yes. Yes.
So she noticed that the friend was uncomfortable with the way how she performs in class and felt like, I think I'm making my friend feel bad, therefore I need to
Yeah.
tone down. So she started failing exams intentionally just to keep the friendship.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. That starting with that last bit, it does happen, and like you say, when a child starts when that starts happening to a child, I think that the parents need to find out what else is going on. Sometimes it may not be them trying to fit in or to keep a friendship. Sometimes it's just the bullying, and
Yeah.
then it will destabilize their mind, and they can't focus, and they can't they can't really pursue what they are there to pursue in school. And sometimes that dimming, interestingly, I was discussing that sort of thing with a friend a few days ago, some adult friend, and
Yeah.
we were discussing again about our childhoods. But that dimming can actually come not even just from the school, but even within the families themselves. And that
Mm-hmm.
can be, it's easy to be hidden, like it may not be obvious. Like sometimes sibling rivalry,
Right.
they can diss this other one who is performing well. They can
Mm-hmm.
dismiss, their achievements and all that. And they might try to keep things low just to fit in, just to be safe, just to be accepted and liked within the family. So
Yeah.
it needs someone with a keen eye to see this sort of thing, and like dig it out and address it. um, I've seen this happen
Yeah.
on a
Yeah. Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
level. Yeah,
Right.
within families. I've seen that, and seen the impact. So it's actually important. So if this child does not know that, what, it's okay to keep my light shining, and it's also still part of having boundaries. Like, I will not let your understanding the other person's insecurities, and deciding that I will not let your insecurities cross over to my side. I'll not let your
Mm-hmm.
projections, okay, we will not
Yeah.
use projections, but I'll not let your fears cross over to me and make me lose, what I'm supposed to pursue. So
Mm-hmm.
it's critical for children to understand that, and to know that, of course, except in situations whereby, like at home, if that's the only person that is there to protect them, then they might adopt the self-deeming as
Yeah.
a self-defense mechanism. And unless there's another person to protect them, then, that might be a difficult situation. But we hope usually that this child has someone they can talk to and have these things addressed. But the problem is, many adults, we've not really dug deep into these things. Like, we don't know these things. So
Yeah.
it's hard
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
recognize
Yeah.
them sometimes. And even a child might come and tell you, and you're like, what are you talking about? So it needs a self-aware adult who has also who's interested in the journey of understanding themselves and their own issues and their own journey. Because when you see your own issues, it's a little easier to see another person's issues and to have some understanding and empathy, towards them. Like, I do remember in secondary school, like we had a group, and something happened within the group, and like I raised a concern within the group, and then I realized that my group mates did not want to hear the concern. So I got a very bad reaction from my group, kind of like, like ostracizing me out of the group and that sort of thing. And I was like, okay, I just took it calmly and I let it be. And well, within a few days, we kind of made up, that sort of thing. But I must say, it never left us the same. But what I realize now, which I didn't think through then, is that I think it's, if we didn't have this conversation. So even when I went home, like, for me, it was a heavy issue. I had no one to talk to about it. These are not issues that we'll talk about. Like, you just carry your thing, But I remember that within the kind of like the dilution of that group or the dilution of the friendship, in the process, I linked up with some other friends who became like friends for life. Like, they're my sisters now, So me not pursuing that too much or getting, trying to go down on my knees because of what happened, to try and keep the friendship. Like, I didn't do that, but I realize now that, hey, it's okay, because I gained other friends and we've kept the best, the best of friendships until now. So kids, if they can have the support, they can realize that, what, I do not have to suck up to some issue, some friend who is damaging me or who is toxic towards me. I don't have to fear losing them. There are so many other people around, and I can always have other people, make other friendships, but it's important for me to protect myself, my emotions, my boundaries, and that sort of thing. When children have someone they can speak to, someone they trust, when they have that space, it's very helpful. I've experienced this with my girls. They have issues at school, of course. So sometimes she calls me, it's like, Mommy, there's this thing, I need to speak to you. Can we have a call sometime? And then when they have the phone from the weekend, at certain hours, then I call and, this is the issue. And, we talk through it and all that. And it's been very helpful, even the small bits of approaches through primary school. So then they learned to be able to say no. Then they learn to know which friendships to care about so that they can actually sit down with their friends and talk through this issue.
And
it's been very helpful, like knowing when to say, here you've crossed the line. This, no, we shall not accept, or I won't share my book because this is what you did. That sort of thing, as well as boundaries, like for time. Let me give you an example. Like, I might say, I'm coming this weekend to see you. And she's like, Mommy, I think don't come this weekend because on Saturday, I have such and such a program. I'm going to read up to this time, and then I have swimming, and then maybe we are practicing for a tournament or that sort of thing. So, I won't really have the time to sit down and talk.
There are
times when I've gone and actually bounced, and she's like, Mommy, there is this and this and this happening and all that. And I've learned to respect that because that is important to her. You understand? So,
Yes.
Especially, it's not like she's running away from me to go and just louse and waste time and all that. I look and I'm like, actually, she's going to engage in something that is useful to her,
Right.
So for me, rather than being offended, like, this girl is pushing me off and what, no, I've learned that, oh, you know, in her few years that she also has a life, okay? So how do I nurture that? And how do I allow her to say that, you know, this is what is important to me right now? Or I know you're also important to me, but then I need to do this, okay? So is that okay, mommy? So I think that gives her or gives them a little bit a level of comfort and trust that I can actually pursue this in this time, and then I can prioritize this in this time. So they don't feel guilty about prioritizing certain things that are important to them. And they don't feel like, oh, mom is going to get offended. And, you know, so I've learned, I'm like, okay, this Saturday, what's your program? Are we good? It's like, yeah, we are good. Or she calls herself, says, Mommy, are you coming to visit this? You know, I'm available. Can we? I'm like, oh, sure, cool. So that sort of thing. So it helps if she can do that with an adult, then it's easier for her to also now start practicing it with her age mates, you know, other young people. And I think it's very helpful knowing that they can have boundaries and knowing that there is someone they can talk to about some of these issues. Yeah.
I like the way how you have come from the vertical relationship and then going how it affects the horizontal relationships. And for the vertical relationship, I'm looking at parent and child, because our parents are our first model of love. And we learn how to express love from the way how we see our parents express love, either for themselves and the people that they claim to love. And so if you have built an environment where you can have and respect boundaries of each other, child and parent, it becomes easier for when they are on a kind of a level ground with their peers. And also, I think also the bit where you hinted on how it's important for us to learn how to have this conversation with ourselves. It reminds me of, you know, when you're on the aeroplane and they say that in case of any emergency and you have a child with yourself, get the mask onto yourself first before you struggle helping the child. Because when you run out of this oxygen, you will not be able to
support
support people who have the mask on, you know?
Yeah.
So when you talk about the need or the importance of having these conversations with ourselves as well, I think it also reminds me of how some people saw this journal and they they couldn't let go of it. They were like, can you remove this one teen so that it's for all of us? It shows the need for these conversations that we didn't have. I mean, when we're growing up, what your parents said is not questionable. You don't say anything about it's final. You don't ask. You don't say it's unfair. You don't say I am pained. You don't say anything. Whatever your parents say, it goes, you know. And
your
we
parents
still have
or some other elder.
That part where you say some other elder, I have found myself so much in a position where, you know, I'm asking myself, how far is Omkulu Tasovia, you know? Because there's a time I was reading a novel, I think it's somewhere in Chintu Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi's novel.
I've seen that book, but not read it.
Yeah, it's a very brilliant book. And somewhere there was a kid, was her name Namata? I don't remember. And she was going for coaching classes with her math teacher. And suddenly her math teacher was going sexual with her. And she was stunned. She was so confused about that. And if I had to put myself in the shoes of a child, I think I'd be extremely confused because I'm supposed to respect the elder. I'm not supposed to question. And then, but then I also know what they're doing is not right. But then I can't disrespect them. So I think in this proverb of Omkuru Tasobia, the adult never goes wrong with children. It needs to be checked when being talked to the children. I don't know if parents are still pushing out the narrative, but I think we are products of that kind of narration in as far as how we deal with our social relationships and Yeah, for the vertical one. So when you
Yeah.
say how, when you hint on how the vertical relationships affect our horizontal relationships, it does make sense
Mm,
because we are also scared of
mm,
feeling like we are rude to our friends, to have to say
yes.
no. I mean,
Mm,
you're finding yourself contradicting the values you have been taught at home. Let me say, if
mm,
you're coming from a home that says that we don't take alcohol, but this friend is,
mm,
making fun of you and saying, "What's wrong with alcohol? Your parents are outdated," and then you just end up taking alcohol, uh,
mm,
just not to lose a
yeah.
friendship, to fit in.
Yeah.
Yet you
Mm,
actually know that you're finding yourself now at in the middle and pulling apart
mm,
from all directions.
yeah.
Now it just leaves you with a sense of conflict, I think.
Mm,
When you don't set the
yeah.
boundaries, that's why you find yourself.
Yeah. I think that that aspect of Omkulu Tasovia, that approach
Mm-hmm.
that you've talked about, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's still very alive
Yeah.
and kicking in our society.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen several like several people, lashing back at people who have come out and said some stuff about their parents or the
Right.
elders who raised them.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent example was Irene Nambiru.
Mm-hmm.
Other examples is say if someone posts something about maybe the mother who wasn't present or the father who wasn't present and how they are probably not engaging them in their life, or whether it's a marriage, whether it's relating to their grandkids and all that. And people usually come back with like, oh, that's your father, you'll never have another father. Oh, that's your mother, you'll never have another mother. Forgive them and all that. And like they really heap a lot of like blame on this person. So it's like people are, they are, what do I call it? Like, I don't know what, they are stuffing forgiveness down this person's throat. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have to, like omukulu ye mukulu, that sort of thing. And I
Yeah.
think it can become toxic because sometimes it's the very people that we are supposed to love, or the people who are supposed to love and care for us, who
And
actually
protect us.
cause the damage and mess up our lives. And then there is this thing in society of like, if you're like like you can go and suffer and die with it in the name of protecting your family or
Yeah.
your parent or that sort of thing. Like just swallow it up. I think it's a toxic culture, and it
It is.
makes people mentally, it causes a lot of emotional and mental disturbance. And I think that sometimes they say like, that tears, I don't know how the saying goes, but essentially it's like the tears that you don't cry outwardly, the energy, the negative energy that you don't shed outwardly, it will find a placement within you, within your body,
Mm-hmm.
So it will cause all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of stresses and other bodily ailments and that sort of thing. These are usually not recognized, but there is a very big link between mind and body, you know, how they relate to each other. So yes, that culture is still alive and well, but it's just it's up to us to recognize that as parents, and you know help our children to see that, hey, even adults make mistakes,
Right.
and adults won't always tell you the right thing to do. If within you someone else has told you this is the right thing, like someone who has your best interests at heart, say your mother or your father, who has been taking care of you well, and they tell you this and this and this is wrong, you shouldn't take alcohol, or you shouldn't engage in this, with drugs or sexual whatever. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's this other adult who is trying to engage you in that. This adult may be within your family, or so if this child knows that even an adult can make a mistake, an adult can do wrong to me, then they may question that adult's action, or whatever they are trying to engage them in, and probably try to steer clear of it or seek protection from another adult. And again, I think being able to teach that, we adults must recognize we ourselves that we make mistakes, that sometimes we offend our kids, like sometimes you fly off the handle unintentionally. Sometimes you make assumptions. Yeah, sometimes you make assumptions. The thing is, even children have feelings. Okay.
Yes. And
so
you
that
know
the
what's
thing
very
is,
interesting? What's very interesting is sometimes because of our egos, we might not even realize that a child is clapping back at us, because there is a story that I have. Someone was telling a story of their experience in the home. I think this guy had lost money in the house, and when the mother was quarreling and going off on him, she was like, even if I gave your 5-year-old sister, she wouldn't lose it, And then at one point something got lost in the house, and this guy was like, I wish you had given it to the baby. She would have still had it.
My God.
Yeah, so sometimes because wars that we don't recognize, but they're right there in our homes. We are clapping back at each other unknowingly. Yeah, so I don't know. Do you
takes
think
awareness.
we can, right, self-awareness?
Self-awareness. It takes a little bit of humility. But the recognition that if I do not, it's related to what we were talking about, like an elder or someone in position of power, of power, being able to recognize their issue, their mistake, and actually knowing that I can recognize this and I can take accountability for it, responsibility for it, and apologize to this person, to this young person. Okay, some people might find it hard to say sorry. Okay, but you find a way of trying to bring this person back into what should I call it? Away from the hurt that you have caused. Okay.
Yeah.
Whichever way you might find suitable, because the thing is this, they have feelings, and if you keep doing this and this and that, it's like someone will grow up thinking the person who is in power, who is in a position of authority over them, that it's okay for them to offend them, and like they have no power to do anything about it. So there's something they'll find within probably their relationships. If it's a woman, because of our culture that puts men in authority position and all that, this woman will keep taking offense from this man, and they'll find like it's okay, that is how it is. If someone is in authority, that is how they are, and they're not obliged to apologize or recognize their mistake. It's something that can happen at their workplace. It's something, it can happen in so many different places, because they do not expect to be considered. They do not expect empathy. They don't expect to be understood. So it is okay for them to keep being offended, and no one owes them an apology. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
I do.
But when they learn that, hey, adults make mistakes, or people in positions of authority also make mistakes, and actually it is okay for them to recognize those mistakes and take responsibility for them, and consider me as a person. They owe me empathy as well, and such that in the future, if they're in a place whereby this other person in authority is consistently loading it down on them, they realize that, you know what, I may not be able to change this person, but I can change my space, because I also deserve empathy. I also deserve consideration. I mean, I shouldn't just stay and be disrespected and, mistreated, all the time. I don't have to take it forever. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So I think it's important for us to.
What you said here takes us to prompt number 5. I know we have not been going through the prompt, but then I've seen the prompt number 5 in chapter 1. The question is, when have I felt disrespected, and what is it that made me feel that way? And then the third question there is, how do I make sure I respect others too? So just because this is a personal, it's a personal development, and we are talking about boundaries as well. We are also looking at, with that prompt, I was trying to make sure that someone is not just self-centered, that they are the victim all the time. It also takes us outside of ourselves to assess the way how we relate with other people. That where we want boundaries, do we respect these other people? And I like that where you asked where someone had to, either change their environment or their attitudes or figure out how to handle the whole thing. It also speaks to, if it's a boss, maybe you can ask yourself if indeed you're in wrong, and whether this person is outrightly disrespectful, even in relationships. Because some people are struggling in these spaces, relationships, workspaces.
Did you say some people?
Yeah, some people are struggling. Yeah.
Yeah. Many people. Yeah. So of course it does go both ways. Not just expecting respect from others, but also giving it back. If you expect it and then you're not giving it back, then that's not respect. You're being entitled, But if you respect others and genuine respect, then it's easier for you to also. Sorry, if you expect. Sorry, if you give respect, genuine respect to others, it's also easier for you to expect it, because you're like, I do consider this person. Why are they not considerate towards me? So I think it is extremely important as well to teach this to these young people. And I personally, I'm like keen on that. Like I tell the older ones, like, just because your little sister is little does not mean that you should treat her anyway. Like, no, in her, she's a soul. She's a complete soul. She's just in a young body. Okay, so she deserves.
That has reminded me of how mom used to punish us. Like I used to fight with my middle brother, and when she would be punishing us, she would be like, "Talk about Mutawa,
yes."
Do not fight your young one, and then to me, respect your elders. Like it was two-way.
Yeah, it's two-way. And by the way, I offend sometimes. I offend. But I think it's important to recognize that I catch myself and I'm like, I think I've overstepped, or like the way I have spoken or handled this has not been like kind or has not been very constructive. So how do we try to solve this? How do we amend this? So that, like, you keep repairing relationships. Because it's not like we are always right, and it's not like our children should just keep taking it. For me, I think it's important to keep maintaining that, that balance, that where there is some commotion or friction, where I've also, gone off the rails, to be aware of that and, reflect and then see how we can actually get back on the rails together. Because if you continue that way, like we said earlier, then they grow up thinking that people can just disrespect me, people can just offend me, people can but when they know you can sit down and correct issues, then that also teaches them to correct issues between themselves. So but for me, what I say is that it's been very important for me to understand as an adult when I go wrong, and to admit it, and to see how to course correct.
It's powerful when you say that it's you have done the work yourself,
mm,
because I think
mm.
where that drives the
Yes, Annie?
conversation is
Mm,
essentially
mm,
to the parents that have had an interaction with this journal, and they say
mm.
we like it. Oh, by the way, for those that are coming in quite late, we are having a
Yeah.
conversation about the Teen Personal Development Journal. It's a publication that came out this year by Navu Network, Thrives. And we are tackling the first chapter of discovering and setting boundaries as a teenager. So that
Mm,
part where you have done the work, and and I think you've seen how easy it is for you to have these conversations with your kids, draws me back
mm,
to some of the parents that have interacted with the journal, and they say, I want
mm,
to buy it, but steal it so that I see what the child has written. What do you have to
mm,
say about that? Because what I see in that is the desire for parents
mm,
to ably have these conversations with their kids, but because this is not something that was invested in them while growing up, they probably do not even know where to start. They do not know how to have these conversations with themselves, and now it even
mm,
becomes harder for them to have these
mm,
conversations with the with the
mm,
kids that they have. Because now when you talk
mm,
about that part where you really query, or rather probe further when your child says she's okay, but you know that
mm,
she isn't, and then you keep pushing for, in a gentle way to find the answers,
mm,
for them to be comfortable enough to share with you. We find that some parents
mm,
have not had the privilege of doing that. They have also not
mm,
had created the time to teach themselves to be empathetic with themselves. So it almost becomes hard for them to see, that is in quotes,
mm,
their neighbors.
mm,
It's hard for them to see their child where they are coming from with this
mm,
I am okay. So I don't know.
mm.
What do you think about that part? Do parents just steal the journals? Is it okay?
Ah, I think that, to be honest with you,
Mm,
I think, of course, like they say, to each their own, and people would eventually decide what works best for them. But I think that stealing the journal or sneaking into it might
yeah.
not be the best direction to go, because if there are already issues, you might
Mm-hmm.
magnify them. If there are already trust issues, then those might get magnified. So I think that, if, like, say, when you're just giving a journal to that child, it helps to just gently start these conversations and, like, look through the questions. If there is something that you would like us to talk about, I'm here, I'm open. Let's talk about it. And I think not to be so demanding of
Yeah.
getting the feedback from them, but to just
Mm-hmm.
continually, gently invite. And when they can, eventually trust that they can actually express themselves to you, they will. It's a journey. It's not like you just say, do this, come, what have you written? I want to know this. And
Yeah.
like that, command and kind of like order kind of style, it may not work well. It may just continue putting that sort of wall between you and this teenager, and they may continue to hide whatever they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
But I think creating a space where you can gently talk about these things, baby steps. If it's not been happening, it's baby steps, so that they can start building that kind of, trust, that they can talk to you
Yeah.
about, even the hurtful emotions that you yourself have caused them, you know,
Mm.
and we've got to be ready to receive this
Yeah. That
feedback,
is what, yeah.
because sometimes we don't want to hear that stuff about ourselves, eh? We
We
as
don't.
parents, because you think, oh, I provide the roof, I provide the fees, I provide the food, I provide everything and all that, like, I'm right in
Yeah.
everything. And some of
Yeah.
the things you do might not be exactly, that nice,
Mm.
and you may not want to hear this. but we need to be open to hear this. Sometimes it might hurt a little bit, but it's what it is. So, hey, so we have to be open to hear that and not go off the handle, because then when you react aggressively, then that will just make the person, that child, fold back in, and then they'll just no, there's no problem, nothing, everything is okay, that sort of thing. So I think personally, I wouldn't take the, like, just taking the journal when they don't know. Like, for instance, for some years, there are times I've provided them with notebooks, like just to journal or write stuff, or maybe you're somewhere and you notice something, or you're feeling something, or you had an experience, just to note them down. And that's just to help them to process something. But I have never looked in those books unless maybe they say, hey, mommy, remember the time you gave me this notebook? And I remember I noted down this thing. Oh, that thing hurt me, or, that sort of thing. And then we talk about it and all that. But I've never, like, fallen upon the journal or the notebook and I'm like, oh, let me look through. Because then if she finds you or he finds you, they'll feel like, Mommy's sneaking up on me, and that might not, like, cause I think for me, it's about talking. It's about building, it's a process, baby steps, step by step, and then build the trust and the openness, and eventually they'll tell you things you wouldn't even expect them to tell you.
Yeah. Okay. Now that, especially for that bit, you reminded me of a conversation I had with this mom. I was just having a conversation with her for the first time. She's a wife of my friend, and this time I carried them some goodies to the family, and she was the only one there. And I sat with her, talked through the work that I do, and she validated my concerns about children's experiences. And I think at the time I wasn't even working on this journal yet, but she told me, at the time she was out of work. And she had more time with her daughter, and she just found the kid seated outside, and she looked like she was deep in thoughts. And when she had this first time conversation with this, I think the girl was just 10. She told her that one of her friends, I think they were running for the same position as prefects, and she won the position, the prefectship, and she had lost this friend, and she was really thinking hard through whether to just leave the position or not. And the mother was too stunned to think to find out that, wait, this kid actually has real problems? Like, what is going on, I don't think she did not expect that. She was working up country at the time, and she didn't have so much time with the kid. But this one-time conversation opened her eyes, and she felt like she had to be more present and have these conversations with the child. And this brings me to a question of, do you think being vulnerable as a parent would help a child open up?
Age appropriate. Vulnerable about things that would be appropriate for their age. For instance, like, sometimes kids can think we are superheroes. They think we have it all sorted out.
My father was a superhero, man.
But we have issues, and sometimes they might think that, they are supposed to just sort everything out and be brave and all that sort of thing. So vulnerability, age appropriate, as we've said, like, say, I've shared stories, say, of some of the issues I've had while growing up, like maybe in school, or at times when I didn't have something, and how I felt, maybe my shoes are torn, and how I felt. And they're like, oh, mommy, this and that. So they see that actually you do have really emotions. and you also remember your childhood, and it's okay to have these emotions. And sometimes they're hard, but also sometimes it's okay if you have someone you can speak to about them. So I think a vulnerability to a certain level, which is appropriate. When they say you being human, they are able to be human. They're able to be human.
That's a valid thought. I hope I remember it at the end so that I write it. Or maybe I should write it here so that I don't forget it. When they see you as a human.
When they see you being human.
They're able,
human. Yeah.
They're able to be human.
Yeah.
That tested it. Let me just post it here. I'll copy and paste it later on. It's because you know why I asked that question when you're saying that we should invite the kids gently into this conversation. I noticed that I wondered what it would be, especially for someone that has not done the work themselves. You know, maybe like you say, age appropriate. I think we can also kind of improvise, don't overtell lies, but you're also trying to give examples for a child to understand maybe what a prompt means. Like, for instances, if we're having this conversation with you, Dr. Zoe, I think we also recognize the fact that there are some stories that you have shared. Some of the stories I've also had in the interactions with parents. So you can draw from those examples or the experience. I think you also have to be now aware of your environment. That now you have a learning child who is curious about the world, and this goes to their social relationships, family, friendships in schools. So maybe try to come up with the age appropriate vulnerability or examples like Dr. Zoe says, and start the conversation from there. Doctor, do you have a specific prompt in this chapter that you feel like caught your eye? Maybe one or two prompts that we can think of or have a conversation on.
I think one was have they at some point have they said yes? As these are not the exact words. Have they said yes to something? And when they, like should have said no, recognizing such instances. So because I know is a very important how do I being able to say no is a very good habit to have. I know that I have got myself burnt to char for saying yes in instances when I've said no, when I should have said no, like major life decisions. Okay, because I did not consider myself a very again, that other culture that we talked about of Uganda culture, also something to do with religion, like, cater to others and, that sort of thing. And that you fail to focus on your cup. And sometimes you're trying to pour into other people's cups and you end up with an empty cup.
Even when you don't have anything to pour.
You don't have anything to pour. Look, you will look around from around your cup to try and get something to pour into another person's cup, and it's not poured into your cup.
Let me tell you something when you're saying that. Let me tell you, because now you have basically shone a light on on my younger self. So when you talked about the religious side of things, I joined the Xaverian movement when I was 11, and the principles that were taught, I don't remember many of them, but the thing that I still carry with myself that has since become scary was how they were teaching us to care for community. Because I think in the hierarchy of care or love, they talked about how community comes first, your neighbor comes second, and I think family, and then you come fourth, you know.
Yeah.
But if there is any other person that needs to be cared for or loved on, they have to become before you. Like you have to come at the bottom of this hierarchy of
Yes.
care and love. And
Yes.
so for me, perhaps that is not how they meant it. It was not a thing of self-abandonment, but that for me became the gospel truth, and I ran away with it. I was always looking out for who is feeling isolated, and yet I myself I was isolated, and I was trying to fix these people. I was trying to see how do I make sure that they don't feel out of place? How do we, you know, make them feel like they're part of us? The new kids in school, when I see that no one is talking to them, I am in their face. I was making quiet people talk, you know, and that was really me, mostly in secondary school, because that's where I kind of also found my voice. And then I realized that I think in me doing this, I was not expecting people to come through for me, but in actual sense, I actually needed it. I went to bed, I was a fixer of many people's problems, and yet there are many times I went to bed crying and no one ever noticed. Or I would even be in class, something is wearing me down. I'll just put my head down, cry, and sit back up like nothing happened. I learned, I mastered the art of silent cries. I'd cry so much, but you'd hear no sound, you know? And when I woke up with my eyes red, the good thing I had allergies, it was easy to say, no, it's just the allergies, you know? And you're sniffing around and people just say, oh, sorry, sorry. And they also have not seen you break down, you know, so they don't expect you. I mean, I'm talking about myself.
Take it all in.
Yeah, I'm talking about myself way after campus. And I've had this friend from senior 5, and I'm now learning to be vulnerable around them. And I say, I was hurt, I cried. And they're like, you cry?
Yes.
I say, yes, I do.
Yeah.
And I'm finding it so odd because I would easily laugh about anything and everything. I would make light of serious issues. Even when I would be terribly heartbroken in a relationship, there are instances where I would have to deal with this thing myself and only be able to talk about it when I'm healed. And I'm just laughing about it as if it's nothing serious because I also don't want them to take it so serious. But in this thing of trying to do life in the adult way, when I learned things like I matter, it was a little bit confusing. And this is me at what age?
You too matter.
I was very confused. I said it in the middle of my past contemplation of suicide. I said I matter. I was in tears. And when I said it, I paused, I think, in my tears. I was like, wait, what? I matter? Like how, you know? And I think I kind of turned myself into a project that had to now learn what this thing means. How do I matter? And I was actually curious, you know, and I lost some friendships on the way, I think, because that's when I started becoming aware of how the friendships I had cultivated were affecting me. And before I forget, I think that part where you say that even when your cup is empty, you start looking around to see how best you can fill other people's cups. I have taken a loan for someone just because they came to me asking for money and I didn't have it. And I felt terrible that I didn't have a solution
You're
for
not
them.
alone. You're not
And
alone.
how old was I? I was just 18 at the time, but because I was working in my vacation and this person needed money, I didn't have it. I felt terrible for not being able to help. And so I had to borrow money to lend them. And then I started, as the months went on, I was asking for this money to be paid back, and she started making it look like I was bothersome, you know. And I think one time, I think when I started growing aware of my surroundings and the way how I was doing my relationships and friendships, I one time tested her. I just asked for 20,000, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't work with money today. I left it in office. Let's try Monday." She didn't know that this was just a test, and so Monday came. I called, like, "Hey, you said the money is at work. Can you lend me 20,000?" Like, "Oh my God!" And now this time I left it home. Oh, you didn't remind me. And she kept going all back and forth, and I was shocked to learn that this is the person I could have placed my hand for to be cut.
Yeah. Now let me tell you this.
Yeah.
I'm bringing back the torch to yourself, and this is what we've learned and what we can teach, our young people. Like me, I say, people will be who they will be. Yeah, and I cannot demand for them to be different towards me. Yeah. But I can demand of myself how I'm going to relate with them after knowing who they are and how they show up in my life. They are who they are, and that's how they are. And that's how they are. I mean, it's not their fault. That's who they are. Okay. So if I put myself in a position of suffering, in a position of, getting scarred because of their behavior, then the responsibility is mine.
And it's just so hard.
That puts me in a position of making decisions that will help me, positively. I think it comes from, again, that other, like support and, support other people, put others first, sacrificing for others is love, is caring, and all that sort of thing. In that process, we forget ourselves, and we end up running on empty. So it's so important to learn when to say no regarding your time, regarding your energy, regarding your other physical resources, things like that. Like, it's like for these young people, a friend might say, "Oh, let's go do this and all that." So if they're like, "Oh, because I'm afraid of making the other person feel uncomfortable, I will just go along." But then they make themselves uncomfortable just to please the other person. And if they carry on with this is something that is going to go into adulthood. And we see this being lived out by adults, making themselves uncomfortable to the point of getting sick, to the point of getting totally indebted, to the point of losing everything just to make others comfortable. And I must say, women are the biggest victims of this. So it's extremely important to learn when to say no to conversations, to engagements, to how to handle your resources, to, like anything. Sometimes someone just wants to be quiet, like even young people, they need time to be quiet, to just do what, but if they feel obliged to all the time engage with others, "Oh, you don't want to be with," they need to know that they're entitled to their quiet time, they're entitled to their resources, they're entitled to time to go read their books, they're entitled to, it's their right. It's their resources, and they determine how to use them without having the fear of, I will lose a friend. So for me, that, like, really also, all of them are very important, but that no, because even many adults are still suffering with that. No, when did I engage when I should not have engaged? Yeah. So yeah. So we often talk about it with adults.
Discovering no, even to this. Okay, initially when I had just learned it, it felt very exciting. Like I'll say no, and I'll be like, ah, I just said no. Nice, 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 nice. And I'll be true to myself, you know. But I think
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
what goes back to the way how we can support children is also
Mm.
teaching them to ask themselves if at all the things that their friends do to them, they would do to
Mm.
them. Like I don't know if you
Mm.
understand the way how I'm putting it. Like in instances when I'm friends with you, Dr. Nakuya, would it,
Mm.
if you do something to me and I sit back and ask myself, would I feel good if I did the same thing to her? I think it's important for
Mm.
to also build
Yeah.
that culture
Mm.
of assessing the friendship that we carry with ourselves, because
Mm.
this being learning to be aware of my surroundings also taught me
Mm.
how to see the relationships that I created, that
Mm.
where I
Mm.
was over and beyond for a couple of people, this one time, because I there is this other friend that has since become, she went from being a friend to becoming an acquaintance because
Mm.
of something that happened in 2017. I had been
Mm.
the person that she would call when she needs help or when she's feeling confused for years, right from high school. And then this one time in 2017, I think at that time I was learning how to be vulnerable. And I told her about something that was tearing me apart. And she said, do not bother me with your things. And I
Yeah.
was
It
confused and
happens.
stunned, you know?
Mm.
And
Mm.
she was like, do not involve me. And then the same person that had said that I shouldn't involve her in my stuff came a few days later for me to fix something. And I told her, I remember I say to her, you will find the answers. I know you know what you want out of what this
Mm.
thing. Like I
Mm.
stopped engaging. I was like, we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay. And like, yeah, like that's okay. Because that thing you asked, you brought up, like, we need to ask ourselves that, um, okay, if I'm relating with this person, whether sibling, friend, or otherwise,
Yeah.
um, this thing that they keep doing, okay, that is their way of dealing, that is their life.
Yeah.
But do I want to continue having this in my life? Okay, they are free to be who they are, but
Yeah.
do I feel okay continuing with them being how they are in my life? Then
Mm.
there I start defining at what level do I want to relate with them, at what distance. Yeah, because sometimes we can choose to, we should always be able to revise how we relate with people, even
Yes.
if it's siblings, or life is a change, life is revision. So and I tell them that, like, you have to be able to revise based on what's happening. So
Yeah.
yeah, you have to be able to revise and say, no, then I need to revise how I engage with this person. I need to revise that distance, between us. Should it be closer? Should it increase the levels? So without feeling guilty and being okay with that. Some people might
Mm.
gaslight you, but it's okay. It is absolutely okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important to know, yeah, based on how someone has handled us as well. Yeah.
Mm, 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 mm. Very valid point.
Revision.
I'm also saying that the question of prompts that connected with you is the very last one in
Mm,
this section of
mm,
rather the chapter. The prompt is, when
mm,
have I said yes to something
yeah.
but wished I had said no? How can I
Mm,
speak up more confidently in the future? It's the very last
mm,
prompt, and then
yeah.
get into kind of the conversational setup where we
Mm,
talk about um, the tips of how to communicate your boundaries. We are saying be clear and direct, use I
yeah.
statements to share your feelings, not to
Mm,
blame others,
mm,
listen to
yeah.
feedback before responding, explain why
Mm,
your boundaries matter to your friendship, respect other
yeah.
people's boundaries, apologize.
Yeah.
We have really been talking about that. Apologize if you make a mistake or cross someone's boundaries. Don't take it personally if someone doesn't agree with your boundaries. Stick to your
Yes.
boundaries even when it is difficult. You have
Yeah.
been hinting on how we are still struggling as adults, and I don't know, man. I don't. I think some people in their childhood have also been bullied a lot by their parents. That taking accountability as adults is such a struggle. That when you
Because
have
they've not seen
friends that,
adults taking accountability.
yes, like that when you have these adult friendships, I've seen people say things that adult friendships are hard.
Mm.
And yet
Yeah.
I've had people that I've carried on from my teenage, and we have
Mm.
learned to communicate. Even I don't know, I
Mm.
don't know how to explain it, but where you find that your friend has done something that makes you uncomfortable, and then you communicate it, and then they
Mm.
start making snide remarks on their WhatsApp statuses.
Mm.
And you're like, this was a private conversation. Where am I seeing this status update?
Mm.
Like, can we be
Mm.
adults and learn how to communicate and take accountability? Because I
Mm.
don't know why. I think there is also this idea that we also do not make mistakes, like what you have been saying.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I think we also need to have these personal conversations, one on like with
Mm.
us, introspection,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah. I'm curious,
Mm.
what are your last remarks about understanding and setting boundaries as a teenager and as an adult?
Yeah. My last remarks. It's really just going
Mm,
through like just a summary of what we have talked about. Setting boundaries is knowing that you own your energy. Like actual
mm,
Mike is like you own your life. You own your life, your energy, your time, your resources. So
yeah.
no, you shouldn't get bullied into how you should spend those. Okay. Focus on what is taking you forward. Okay. Even if it's engaging in leisure, which is constructive for you. Like, say if she said, oh, this afternoon I've programmed, I'm going to swim.
Yes.
And, someone is trying to take her or push her into something else. Like, they learn to say that, this is what I planned for my afternoon. Okay. This is what
Mm,
I'm going to
mm,
do.
mm, mm,
So really knowing that it's okay to have your priorities and not be, shaken all over the place by other
yeah.
people's programs. Yeah. And not to feel guilty about it because
Mm,
some people will always, try to gaslight you, for standing up for yourself and
yeah.
make you feel guilty about it. We've talked a lot about guilt tripping with my children and for them to recognize it, to
Mm,
recognize manipulation. And they can recognize it. They can say, oh, even say you're watching a movie or something. I was like, there is some manipulation going on there,
right.
So yeah, learning to discern when someone is manipulating them and, saying no to that. And then knowing that actually people make mistakes, adults make mistakes, adults can be
Mm-hmm.
wrong. So they shouldn't be pushed into a wrong thing just because it's an adult who is saying, do this, So learning to recognize that and then to know that yeah, even at their age, they also deserve a little respect. Okay.
Yeah.
They shouldn't just be treated anyhow by anyone just because they are children, you know. So yeah, so in instances, they've learned to gently speak up for themselves, even to some adults. So
Right.
yeah, for them to know their boundaries. So that, and the last bit that we've talked about, learning to say no and not feel guilty about it, and being able to revise relationships, revise
Right.
engagements.
Yeah.
Sorry? Yeah, yeah. And that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable so that they can share with the person they trust, so they can be
Mm-hmm.
supported and advised. Yeah. And then so for me, that's that. I mean, I can only really speak from my experience. Like, I'm not a mental health expert, or I'm just doing life and navigating it and seeing how best I can support my children, and looking at me personally, the support that I did not get, or the support that I see people not getting, or how I see adults, how we show up. A lot of times, it's not adults showing up. We have adult bodies, but they are the children within us who are still undergoing certain things that are hidden behind, our actions and how we relate with each other. So it is through, reflecting on such things and going within and trying to dig within myself and saying, where is this issue coming from? What can I do about it? Here I made a mistake, or here I overstepped my own boundary, or I overstepped someone else's boundary. How do I revise that? Like, being able to do that. Totally imperfect, yeah. But even that, I've learned to be comfortable with that, learning to be comfortable with making mistakes and being empathetic towards myself. And I'm like, there, I think I really crossed the line. Okay, how do I mend this? If it's with a person, then I try to see how to mend that and explain myself. And I'm like, you know what? I really crossed the line when it came to this. But this is what happened to me, and please, I'm working on myself. Forgive me for that. That sort of thing. Yeah. So, yeah, being vulnerable and recognizing that we make mistakes, and more or less the same things apply to adulthood. Adults, we are afraid of shame. We think if we admit our mistakes, we shall feel, like we are low. We shall feel ashamed, and that sort of thing. We want to appear perfect, like we've got it all together.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we like to fit in. That's a big thing. Society just really trains us to fit in. We are so afraid of being alone. And we think we are going to get hurt. But, we are not children that need to be like protected and fed and all that. So you do not really need to depend on someone else's total acceptance of you, even when they are hurting you. Like, you have to reassure that inner child within you that, hold on a minute, I'm safe. I am safe. I'm safe enough to stand up for myself. I'm safe enough to speak up for myself. I am safe to do that. There's no lie I'm going to come to eat me, and this person is, it's not like they're going to choke me, unless of course you're in a violent, environment, a violent relationship. Then you have to tread carefully to navigate your way around the situation. But generally, I think that people-pleasing thing, the fear of abandonment, the dying to be accepted, I think those are some of the things that we need to address within us in order to be able to keep our healthy boundaries. And boundaries shouldn't be walls to keep other people out. Boundaries are really for, cultivating healthy relationships. Like, even if your spouses, like, you don't just be all over your spouse's things and whatnot. We are two individuals coming into a joint relationship. We do not lose that individuality. It's that individuality that attracted us towards each other. So I think we need to nurture it and bring those two individuals to make this multiplied relationship. So we need to respect that individuality, and not think I'm just merging into the other person. I think when people when they take this thing of we are one too far, then I think, boundaries become an issue. So yeah, I think that's really how I see life. It's not perfect, but I'm still learning. I'm still making mistakes. And but I've come a long way.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing the wisdom with us. You have stolen my nugget of empowering people to build positive relationships with the usage of not usage, with learning how to lean into discovering and setting boundaries for themselves as teenagers, yes, but even as adults, especially if we have children under our care, like we have been talking about in this conversation, that you cannot pour from an empty cup. That which you don't know, you cannot teach, even
Yes.
when it's
Yeah.
just a textbook lesson. If you have not fully had an experience with it, you cannot fully pass it on to someone. It's not. This is not framework where you're having marks. But
Yeah.
message to the
Yeah.
teenagers really, if you find yourself overpowered or overwhelmed by the boundaries that you have set and you feel like this is wearing you out, it's important for you to find an adult that you trust so that you can have extra help to help you make informed decisions, you know. And even when the child, because just recently, I think about 3 weeks ago, I had one of the parents, I think this kid had already shared with the mom. The kid is about 8 years old, I think. She had already told the mom about this friend that has been bothering her in school. I didn't hear the full conversation, but I think at the time when I was approaching their house, the kid was bringing back the story, and the mom just hushed her with this thing of, I told you to leave that friend of yours. She's just a hypocrite. Don't talk about her again, you know, and I do acknowledge that we are, as adults, we are also struggling with our own lives, but we cannot dismiss or shut down the children in our care. I think it also draws back to how to have these conversations. That when you learn to have these honest conversations, the irony here is that the mother herself is also a hypocrite, which I learned. So I found it ironic that she was telling the daughter not to be a hypocrite. But yes, and I think if she had grown honest with herself, she would have learned how to cultivate a better conversation with a child. So thank you so much for those that have sat with us for the last how long? Close to 2 hours, I think, or 1.5 hours. We had technical issues. Yeah, we had technical issues. We're supposed to have Facebook Live and rather Instagram Lives.
Instagram Live,
I just learned that as of August 1st or something like that, they changed the policy, I think going live policy, that they are now just limiting it to people with 1,000 followers. So if you're here and you haven't followed us on Instagram, try to check out our accounts. Zoe Nakuya and Nabuzi Chiwanuka. And then for those that are curious about this journal, they are existent in 3 sheds. I'll repost for you to have a view of the different covers. We have this African print, we have the floral cover, and also the tribal marks. The tribal print. Today we have had a conversation on discovering and setting boundaries from this very journal. There are 7 topics or chapters in this novel. And I just called it a novel. There are 7 chapters. There are 7 chapters in this journal that are a toolkit. It's not a novel to read. It is not that when you see it, you say, oh, my child is good at reading. No. All the children in your care, the teenagers, and for teenagers, we're really mostly looking at the ages of 10 to 24, because I've learned with time that even 24-year-olds in most cases are still under the parents' care, are still figuring out life, and even 32-year-olds.
You're figuring out life at 40, at 50. So what are you saying?
Do you know that I saw somewhere a BBC something where they were saying that did they say that adolescence goes as far as the age of 32? I was like, nice. So I'm still a kid.
Oh, well. Before we conclude, I want to apologize. I don't know how the viewers have been seeing it, but I think my lighting was a little bit poor. I don't know, so apologies for that. I hope they were able to pick the words though, so hopefully I'll have better lighting next time. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And to say thank you to everyone who showed up to listening and, pick this information.
We really appreciate you, and we hope to engage more with you guys in the comment section. For those that want the journal in their homes, someone called this journal gold that should be in everyone's home. For those that want it, it's more like a full package that comes with extra downloadable materials that come with the journal. The whole package goes for 65,000. Yeah. Do hit me up, inbox me, or check out the channels where you can shop. You can also go to the website www.navonetwork.org. I'm going to add that in the comments here. You can always go to the Thrivis shop and purchase these journals. It's good for you. It's good for your child, your niece, your sister, or whichever teenager that you care about. Thank you so much for engaging with us this evening. Dr. Zoe, thank you so much for giving us your time and having conversations that are empowering the nation, empowering the continent. Let us look forward to a more self-aware and confident adults.
Generation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
generation. All right. Thank you, Nabuguzi, for this conversation. And see you. Talk again soon.
Yes. For our next, I think for those that have seen our schedule, for the next conversation, we shall be talking about. Let me say, this is understanding your emotions as a teenager.
Emotions.
Yes, for the boundary conversation that we have had today, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, out of the 9 prompts, we have tackled 1, 2, 3 for this live conversation. So do have a good night. For more information,
have a good night, everyone.
Yes, the number is 0770-338-440. You can still WhatsApp us. Have a good night.
All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.